topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Geeks, Geezers, and Googlization Show, the home of Googlization Nation, where we talk with HR and business thought leaders about the crazy shift going on in the world of business, technology, and HR. Here's your host, Ira Wolf.
Hey, hello, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to all those who celebrate Thanksgiving. We're certainly going to have a different one this year, but hopefully it will be a happy one. It's also unbelievable that this is our 47th Geeks Geezers and Geeks Geezers and Googlization show. Can never get that out right. So the alliteration was great, but
well, you named it, right?
it definitely gets attention. So I definitely appreciate that. And now we've got Geeks Geezers Googlization and Joya. So not the Goya, right? But welcome, Joyce, and really
Thank you.
kind of you're in the big seat now, and we're going to be co-hosting it for hopefully for a long time. But it's great to have you here. And
you,
for those who don't know Joyce, Joyce is CEO and founder of the Herman Group. We'll be talking a little bit later about the newsletters that she puts out with almost 30,000 people.
Yeah, read it with the pass along. Yeah,
the Herman Trend Alert. So we've decided to do a portion of that live every week. Talk about the topic that Joyce had written on, and again, it's hard to believe we're last Wednesday in November, and again 47 shows into this year. When we start the clock again, it's always, wow, we got a lot to talk about. And now it's like, how do we talk about all this in the next couple of weeks? So, but December, we've got the 3 shows. We're taking a little bit of break over the holidays, and we have some great guests. We're going to do a little bit of forecasting on the next year.
Economic forecasting, right?
Yeah, not next year, not next week, but the following week. We've got Alan Ballou been on. We've interviewed him 3 or 4 times over the last 2 years. His firm, ITR Economics, has a 96% accuracy rate over 30 years of what trends and what things are. So you're definitely going to want to pay attention to that one. Today we've got a great topic. We're going to be talking with Graham Thornton from a company he has called the Change State. We're going to be talking a little bit about recruitment marketing, but a specific topic in there about job aggregators, because everybody thinks, hey, we can put a job on and it's going to go to 1,000 or 100, maybe not 1,000, but 100 job boards.
Clients have said to me, Ira, I just love ZipRecruiter, or I just love Indeed. It really works for me. And I just wonder what they're talking about, because I have a feeling that there's a lot more to it. And that's what we're going to hear from Graham, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When I heard him, I've been talking on this. Ever since the book came out, been really focused on the recruitment marketing side. Google for Jobs had come out just about the time, so I started to introduce that, and it was shocking, even as far as this year, the conferences I spoke at, virtual mostly, that the number of people that were in talent acquisition, in recruitment, or even if that wasn't their specialty, they were responsible for that within their company, had no idea what Google for Jobs was. Number one, they didn't know how it worked. But the concern is because it does scrape all these jobs and puts them together, which is a nice way to get your jobs exposed to more people. The problem is when they went up there were all these other job boards that people could apply on. And that is like a black hole, because once a candidate gets in there, they're not being directed back to your ATS or your web page, but they are diverted. They're actually, it'll be interesting. I won't give away the secret, but they kind of go in a circle. So it's really a catch-22 where they go. So it was fascinating.
I'm sure that our audience will also find it very interesting.
Yeah, it may be something you want to write about for
Sometime in the future. Yeah. Well, you know, it needs to be kind of serious. Like next week, I'm going to write about adaptability.
Wow, a favorite subject.
Yes.
Yeah, and for those who have been following me, you'll be seeing a lot more coming out about adaptability. I actually just created over the weekend new animated. It's literally 60 seconds. And one of the things people talk about, we talk about it as well, about adaptability being a skill we're going to need. Everybody's going to have to be a little bit more comfortable with change.
Sure.
As Rebel just was able to post for us, we're going to move from basically status quo or the normal to a new normal, and
which I call normal 2.0.
Yeah, and in developing this animated video, what I came up with was that I don't like new normal. Nothing against that. I don't like normal 2.0. I don't like the next normal. We've had John Sinai coming up. Yeah, great. I love his title of his new book, which is Future Next. I know Jason Averbook talks about future now. They all sort of resonate, but they all suspect that we're moving from point A to point B. And in reality, we're going to have a wave of normals. We're not going to have the status quo. And it's going to be that we ride the crest, and then as we come down the other side, there's going to be a new wave. And so I came up with I'm still refining it. Maybe you can help me, but it's the next, the next wave of normal. So so anyway, there's a new video up there, but we'll be talking about that. So can't wait till next week to learn a little bit more about adaptability from your perspective. But
sure.
We have Graham Thornton here today and want to make sure that we maximize the time because he's got a really powerful message. Graham has a company. He lives out on the West Coast, out in Seattle, which has nothing to do with what he does, but that's where his passion is. But he lives on the West Coast, and he has a company called Change State. And they focus on recruitment marketing. I met, like many other people, Graham on the JobSync roundtable. I highly recommend everybody, if you get a chance, to sign up for that. If you need the link to register, it's free. We meet every Thursday at 11 p.m. Not this week because it's Thanksgiving, but great presenters.
Hold on, 11 p.m.? 11 a.m.
I'm sorry, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Eastern time. So
okay.
For people on the West Coast, but there's people in Europe that are on the call. But it's a really, really good group. It's a core group of people. We have usually 30 to 50 people on the call. Very active. Some names you might recognize if you're in the space. And again, it's been a great opportunity. But that's where I met Graham. So going to bring Graham on, and we're going to talk about job recruiters. And as the title of our presentation said, recruiters beware.
Welcome, Graham.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, wherever everyone is. It's still morning on the West Coast.
Yeah, we're crossing some time zones here. So I did the pitch. I said that when you and I met a couple weeks ago, I guess it was, time flies, we were talking about job aggregators and were they killing the candidate experience? And honestly, I went in and was like, what can he tell me that I don't know? And it's like, holy cow. It's like, don't know where to stop. So let's talk. One is the audience may not be sure what the difference between a job board and like an Indeed versus a job aggregator. So if we can get a little bit of a definition there, and then let's dive into why job aggregators may not be the holy grail that people think they are.
Yeah. So, I think the biggest difference is when you have job aggregators, they're pulling jobs from a lot of different sources, right? And so that may mean that, I'm out in Seattle, Amazon may send jobs to one job board, and that job board may send that to another job board, and might send that to another job board. So, if you look at the traditional job board market from 15 years ago, it was a lot more direct candidate to endpoint to company. And what job aggregators have done, they've really taken advantage of the advent of programmatic recruitment marketing, cost per click. They've taken advantage of Google for Jobs, to create this active marketplace for applicants that in many times becomes a roundabout circle that really negatively impacts the candidate experience.
Can you give us
right?
some examples, Graham, of
Yeah.
the of job aggregators, please?
Well, do you want me to name some names? I don't know if I'll do. I'll tell you what I will do, Joyce, because the one piece we always say is like we're not going to call out specific vendors, but I will encourage everyone. I'll give you an example, Joyce. Don't worry. I would encourage everyone to take a look at Google and run a search for any sales job. Just go in and type in retail sales associate, and what you're going to find is on that real estate in Google. You may see jobs for Urban Outfitters, for Bed Bath and Beyond, for Toys R Us. I guess probably not Toys R Us anymore. Who knows,
No,
right?
probably not.
But at that point, Google for Jobs is powering those sales jobs with a bunch of different job boards and job aggregators. So they may be sites like I'll give you one. I'll give you a layup. Gibo, right? Gibo is a classified listing site. That pulls a lot of different job listings from multiple different avenues.
So
right?
do they pull them from the newspapers as well as from websites? Is that what they do?
I'd say the majority of them are now coming from websites, right?
Okay.
Coming from websites.
Well,
So
most
because
of the newspapers, just to answer Joy, most of the newspapers are pulling them from Career Builder or Monster. If you look at the newspaper in the back of it, it basically is Career Builder in print. I mean, it actually says it actually says they're getting their jobs on Career Builder. So
in other words, if I were looking for someone to say work in my office, I would not. Well, my first go-to place, by the way, is the college newspapers, but I would not want to, or used to be, but I would not want to put an ad in my local newspaper anymore.
No, we're not necessarily saying that. I think what we're saying is you need to pay attention to what happens after you put a job on the newspaper, or after you post a job on your career site. Because what's happening, what programmatic advertising does, it gives you the ability to go out and buy applications or bid on applications in a cost per click manner, right? So think of Google Google pay-per-click for consumer advertising. It's the same type of an environment that exists for applications. So what that means is all of these aggregators are fighting for real estate on Google to resell clicks for the job that you might have placed in the newspaper, right? Because your newspaper or your job boards are still trying to go out and find traffic and people that are a fit for a sales rep job that you might have advertised. The problem comes when if it's so easy to index your jobs online, then all of these aggregators are essentially advertising many times the same role and are selling that traffic to each other, right? So what that means is you may, post a job with, you may post a job with job board A and say, hey, I'm willing to pay 50 cents a click, for applications, right?
Oh,
And
so
then
it
job
gets
board-
bid up. It gets
Correct.
bid up. I kind of like the pay-per-click that I used to sign up for. There's a speakers bureau who pays more than I do for my name, so they get it.
Yeah, it's an interesting marketplace because what you have is you have job board A that will say, hey, I can find this click for 55 cents, and then they will go buy it from job board B for 50 cents, and then job board C will have that traffic and they'll sell it for 30 cents. Wow. And you go down the line, and many times it's 4 different boards or 4 different paths before you end up getting to the end result, which is an application, right? Now the challenge there is those are a lot of points of failure in a typical candidate journey, and there are a lot of connection points where that path where you may have started looking for a retail sales job with Bed Bath and Beyond. And by the time you get to the 3rd or 4th job board or destination, you're at a mechanical engineer role for CBRE because the wires have gotten crossed in those paths. So it becomes an incredibly poor candidate experience. And when you think about how often people are fighting for real estate on Google, and how much everyone talks about, hey, Google is where candidates start their search. A mismanaged advertising strategy, a mismanaged recruitment marketing plan can really be taken advantage of by all of these job aggregators or job boards that are not paying, or recruitment marketing agencies, frankly, that are not paying attention to where your down funnel metrics are delivering. Does that make sense, Joyce?
It does. So what I'm thinking, Ira, if I just may ask a quick question. If you are, say, Bed Bath & Beyond, then what you're telling me, I think, is that if I'm Bed Bath & Beyond, my best option is to go to where the person would first go to the internet and post an ad for retail sales, so that I would want to have a sponsored link for the keywords of retail sales, Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, yes. It's a little more complicated than that, right? So, not all job aggregators are bad. If I can pay 25 cents for a click and it drives me a qualified candidate that completes an application, that is great, and we'll pay that all day. The problem is, there are a lot of missed opportunities, throughout that process, and there are a lot of new job aggregators and job boards that, are popping up in, a given week. And if you are not monitoring, your publisher network, where you're sending your jobs, then you run the risk of having a lot of wasted spend and really some pain in the candidate experience that, now more than ever, companies are starting to pay much more attention to.
It matters.
So
that's what my new book is about, by the way, Graham.
Yeah. Okay.
Seriously.
Perfect.
It's about the experience of it. So
yeah. If we can, just to make sure everyone, and again, everybody's on the same page, because we talk about Google for Jobs and people say, well, how do I get listed in Google for Jobs? Well, you don't get listed in Google for Jobs because it's not a job board. It basically is a subset of Google's search engine, and they'll go out and they'll look for all, any ATS that promotes a job. By the way, just to make sure, and I think I'm still correct on this, Graham, Google does not display any Indeed jobs.
Yeah, it's correct.
Yep. So Google Indeed does not allow Google to scrape their jobs. So when people post on Indeed and they go, how do I get into Google? Because most people pick up a smartphone and just search. They don't necessarily go to Indeed or Google or Career Builder, Monster, or Zipper. They don't go to those specific ones. They just type in the company name or they type in a job and it pops up. That's why Google for Jobs is important. So the search starts there. But ultimately, if they do end up on Google and they do display that, if your company site is not one of those button options, the likelihood is it's going to a job aggregator. Yeah.
Job aggregator, job board, it's going somewhere else. So, you need to make sure that you're prioritizing, and your job listings are set up in a way that Google is willing to pick them up too, right? And that's the thing, Google has made it very easy for you to get, jobs indexed on their site, right? Like they've written down how you do it. That's how all these job aggregators are popping up, right? Like, except
the companies aren't doing it. The job aggregators have taken advantage of it. The individual companies have not.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge, right? And a lot of companies have, right? So we can't, paint a broad brush and say everyone, no one knows what they're doing. Look, there's a lot of great companies, and there's a lot of great job aggregators. Again, and it's, Indeed was a job aggregator when it started, right? You have to think about how, all of these job boards grew. I think what we just continue to want to build awareness on is, hey, pay attention to where you're sending your jobs and walk through what that experience is. Because we liken it to, a game of whack-a-mole with these vendors, right? Data is worth a lot. And that is why, these job boards are popping up, right? And, so forget about the candidate experience. Think about it from another angle. If I'm pulling jobs from, Amazon, and I'm a job board, let's say I'm Gibo, right? We'll pick on them today. You have to register with Gibo before you apply for a job. So, at that point, now you're advertising as a third-party job board, as an Amazon. You're capturing information or email addresses of people, and usually the basic information before you send it over to Amazon as a completed application. In the Gibo example, many times they're working with other job boards. So, someone finds a job, it's an Amazon, package handler, they go through Gibo, they submit their information, then they go out to, retail jobs, right? And then they have to resubmit their information again. And, all throughout that process, your contact information is passing through as a candidate to all these other third parties too. And, Amazon never gets that unless you complete an application with Amazon.
So,
Yeah,
Graham,
go ahead,
I have a
Joyce.
question for you.
Yeah.
What's the difference between an aggregator and a job board? Because I always thought that Indeed was an aggregator, but you're telling me it's not. It's a job board.
So the way I look at those differences is I think aggregators are more working with other third-party boards, right? Other third-party places to pull traffic. And if you look at Indeed, they really are doing a good job of prioritizing. They are only pulling jobs from Amazon. If you click on an Amazon job and Indeed and click apply, you're going to Amazon. That's where your application is being delivered. Job aggregators, I think that you're much more at risk of you being stuck in that winding path with a few different different words for it. So
yeah, and I think going back to again walking people through the kind of the travel, the journey. So I find the job, I find that retail job on Google. I click on it, and then I'm exposed to 5 or 6 options, and one of those options is not the company site. So I click on one of those buttons, and then I go, and it might be a job aggregator, and I haven't been there before, and I need to register. So I have to go through that whole process of logging in. If I'm top talent, if I have choices and I'm being a little bit more selective, I've already figured out that I'm not logging into one more company, because what happens is then one is when I enter, I'm not necessarily taken to the job I was looking at. I was taken to all the other retail jobs, which may be good from the candidate experience, but it's not very good from my experience, because I want to keep people on my path. I clicked on them, I got them into my store. I don't want to give them a coupon to go down to my competitor, which is sort of what happens. Am I right?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
It's a disconnect on the candidate experience from the candidate says, I'm not filling out one more job registration, because then I'm going to get a whole bunch of emails telling me, oh, I'm a good fit for that particular job. But for the employer side, it's a horrible experience, because it's literally like promoting the job. You got somebody that's standing at your door for a Black Friday sale. You bring them in, they get right to say, I got my product, I got my gift, I want to be able to purchase it. Click to apply, and they go, oh, to apply, why don't you go down the street and look at the competitor's deal first?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, no, that's spot on. And look, what it boils down to, though, there are ways, if you're paying attention, right, and if you're a good marketer, right, and, if you're a company that has the right metrics and analytics in place, like, you should be testing job aggregators, because again, like, there are good sources of traffic, but you just can't rely on, hey, how many clicks did I get from a source, right? You need to start looking at, down funnel analytics. And, what's funny is, we talk about this all the time. This is still the basic blocking and tackling of good marketing, right? Like, if you were advertising for a consumer product, no consumer marketing agency is going to say, hey, yeah, we just got a bunch of clicks, and that's where we stop measuring where people come from, right? Like, you want to know, like, all right, on the consumer side, how many people like submitted a lead, right? Or how many people do we know are interested in buying a product? How many people purchased it? And it's that same experience in the recruitment side that, like, yeah, that is where we're trying to get organizations. The smartest recruitment organizations are looking at, consumer marketing as the model for like how you attract talent. And the job aggregators are not going to go away, and they have value, right? The right ones will grow responsibly. That's why we love tools like JobSync. You mentioned that, the roundtable, Ira. JobSync, they do the plumbing for job boards. So what does that mean? Like, hey, if I click on a job at Indeed, JobSync can send that application directly into an applicant tracking system, right? They're partnering with a lot of job boards where if you have real traffic and good candidates, they can put those applications right into your ATS. So, hey, if you're a good job board, problem solved, right? But if you're not, and you're selling third-party traffic and you're sending people on a goose chase, like those are the job boards that you should be paying attention to.
Are they job boards or are they aggregators?
they're both, Joyce. They're both.
Okay.
They're
Now
both.
I understand.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
I want to make sure, because your company, Change State, focuses on recruitment marketing. So a lot of this has to do with it, but also employment brand. Am I right? So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about employment brand, because I know that's going to resonate with Joyce as well. Their new book, Experience Rules, I think, is the name of it, right, Joyce?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Where does this fit into that? Why are job aggregators hurting the employment brand?
Yeah, well, we think of it as a few different types of marketing, right? When you're sending jobs on job boards, that's more of a linear path to applying for a position. In theory, right? Like my job's on Indeed, and I see that I'm a fit for a program manager job. I submit an application. When we think about where we see recruitment marketing and a real opportunity to move the needle, we spend a lot of time with talent insights research, with employer brand research, so we can actually understand, hey, if I'm a high volume call center, if I'm an engineering firm, like what motivates what are my happiest employees like about my organization? And like not only what are the brand attributes that my current employees like, hey, does that like match what we tell ourselves in our messaging, like for outgoing candidates? Because what we're trying to avoid, and again, like this is where organizations should be going. Like you hear the phrase authenticity all the time. Like your message that you have and that you're sending out to candidates, it better be accurate when people come work for the organization. Otherwise, they're not going to stay. So we spend a lot of time on building out employee personas and like helping people understand, what does the profile of someone that's most likely to be successful at an organization stay 2 to 3 years, right? What does that person value? How does that stack up compared to the brand attributes that our company actually offers? And that's the type of messaging that when you look at recruitment marketing and where recruitment marketing and companies are going, like you want people that are going to be most likely to stay and be engaged at your organization too, because it can't just be hey, there's a lot of people on a job market, let's go post jobs. Yeah, we do that, and that's a lot of fun, but that can't be the end all. It's the same thing again, like with consumers, like people spend millions of dollars trying to understand who their buyer is. It's that same approach in the recruitment side, but the smartest companies are the ones that like recognize, hey, consumer is driving where we should be going as a recruitment marketing firm.
So, Graham, my book says that if it's important to look at the candidate experience, it's also important to look at all of the different experiences for all of the different stakeholder groups. So there's a chapter on suppliers and vendors and another one on shareholders and families and communities. And so what you're telling me is, and you're definitely preaching to the choir here, is that the candidate experience and the brand needs to be congruent with the consumer brand, and that needs to be congruent with the internal employment brand. And that needs to be congruent, in my view, with all of the other brands that we have in an organization.
Yeah, so I'll add 2 points there. So, first, I think one of the big reasons why clients love a baseline of talent insights and personas as a starting point. I think historically, consumer marketing teams focus on the consumer brand, and there's often been a mismatch or a disconnect between recruitment and talent acquisition teams and how you have that conversation with your marketing team on what you need. And first step of understanding your target talent, your current organization. Like now we've been able to like help talent acquisition bridge the gap with consumer marketing, and Marcon teams, because hey, now you're used to, as a marketing person, I understand personas. I understand like brand attributes. I understand what this means. And like, this is how you take the next step forward, as a recruiting organization to connect those dots. And you mentioned the connection to consumer. I think, I know that we're up on time. One of my favorite stories is, Disney. Disney does a lot of studying on the candidate experience. They found that, the average person that applies for a job on Disney, just applies, spends 8 times as much money at a Disney park in a given year than someone who's never applied for a job. So, if you think about like how you make those connection points, there are some very, very strong ways that you can connect, hey, the value of your employer brand to your consumer brand as well.
20 years ago, I was teaching recruiters and HR people in Singapore that they needed to apply marketing principles and practices when they were writing copy. I was actually teaching them how to write recruitment copy, because all of their recruitment copy, if you'll pardon the expression, sucked. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, it still does. It's still copy and paste job descriptions. Yeah, with that. Hey, Graham, we are up. We are approaching the end here, and obviously with this conversation we can go on forever. So, love to have you back in 2021. We're very optimistic. We're having a great year, and this conversation is going to continue. This is just a chapter, in that. How can people get in touch with you? How can they learn a little bit more about Change State?
Yeah, easiest way, just go to changestate.io. We host our own weekly podcast, The Changing State of Talent Acquisition. We think that one of the things we need to do is just help better educate people in the talent acquisition space and help share stories. So, we're big believers in highlighting what's going on, whether it's talent insights, branding, recruitment marketing. So and they can always just find us on LinkedIn.
That's change-state.io, correct?
Nope, it's just changestate.io.
Sorry about that. All right, I'm posting it in the chat for anyone who would like to.
Perfect.
Excellent. Graham, hope you have a happy, safe Thanksgiving. Good New Year. We'll be in touch. And thanks so much for being a guest on Geeks, Geezers, and Googlization.
Great to meet you, Graham.
Thanks, Joyce. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, thanks. And we're going to be taking a short break here from our sponsor, Success Performance Solution. Hear a little bit more about adaptability quotient. Thanks for listening to Geeks, Geezers, and Googlization and being part of Googlization Nation. Here with my co-host, Joyce Joya. I'm Ira Wolf. We'll be right back. Hiring top talent shouldn't be left up to the roll of the dice. And yet, that's exactly what many organizations do. They roll the dice, cross their fingers, and pray for a better outcome. Hiring the right employees the first time is much too important and way too costly to leave to a game of chance. Your employees and your customers deserve better. For 25 years, Success Performance Solution has been helping small and medium-sized businesses hire smarter. They offer pre-employment and leadership assessments from typing and data entry to C-suite competence. Whether it's production, sales, healthcare, call centers, or management, Success Performance Solutions can help. Visit their website at www.successperformancesolutions.com to schedule a free demo or call 800-803-4303.
A lot of you might be feeling like you're standing in deep shift. But do you know what grows and rises out of deep shift? Opportunity. To successfully navigate the shift to the new normal, each of us must learn to rapidly adapt to the speed of change. Some of us are hardwired for this. Others, not so much. That's where Success Performance Solutions can help. Success Performance Solutions is now your AQ headquarters. Whether you are personally struggling with the next chapter in your career or wondering how ready your team is for fast, disruptive change, our AQ assessment and coaching will provide you a detailed, scientifically backed roadmap to guide you into the new normal. Optimize your adaptability today. Contact Success Performance Solutions about evaluating your team's change readiness or joining our upcoming AQ Masterclass. Visit successperformancesolutions.com or call us at 800-803-4303.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to Geeks, Geezers, and Googlization. Here with my co-host Joyce Joya. I'm Ira Wolf, and what a great segment. That
was fascinating, wasn't it?
It absolutely is, and there's so many other questions that I have, and it's continuing evolving, as you said, even trying to figure out the difference. How do I know if it's a job board or a job aggregator? And we really don't, and I think there's a blend of what those are. There's certainly some job boards per se, but most of them are, I would say a job board today The closest thing probably is Indeed, because you can get a contract with Indeed and post it there. But job boards are pretty much career boards. What you have on your own website. Everybody else is sort of an aggregator, and that would be my definition, especially with when you hear people say, what do you like, Indeed better, or you like ZipRecruiter better? And
yeah, I was going to ask him about ZipRecruiter, but he didn't want me to name names.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
is ZipRecruiter an aggregator or job board?
My advice to people is don't get hung up on it, is understand that even if you're working with Indeed to find top talent, to find production, I wouldn't say run-of-the-mill people. Certainly that's going to be a go-to place. ZipRecruiter probably doesn't want to hear that, but ZipRecruiter is going to say, no, we're the go-to place. Ultimately, they're not the holy grail. They're not the answer, because both of them are going to, when somebody registers on either of those sites, it's not necessarily good from your standpoint, from the employer standpoint, because you are going to get a flood of emails about job opportunities at competitors, because everybody's doing the same thing. They make money by how many people are in their database, how many people click. Employers who say, my jobs aren't ranking high enough, I need to sponsor the ads. So it's again, Indeed's probably the Google of jobs, but they're not the only player out there, and it's very competitive. And I keep giving this example out. A client of mine who used to get 25, used to complain that he only got 25 or 50 applications, and out of that there might have been one or two that were viable. When he posted an ad about 3 months ago, he got 1,400 something in 24 hours.
Wow.
And again, so there's a ton of people out there that are going to be looking for jobs as the economy improves, and as employment benefits run out, there's even going to be more people looking for jobs. So it's going to be really, really critical that you not only know where you're posting, how can I get not more candidates, but more qualified candidates, but then have an internal process that allows you to screen those out quickly. And a lot of companies were sort of struggling with even 50 candidates that they get. And gosh, we got 48 bad ones and 2 good ones. Can you imagine now, maybe even if you multiply that out, even if you got 50 good ones, they're going to be buried in 1,400. How are you going to get back to them in time? What's that candidate experience looks like? How do they avoid falling into the black hole? So whole lot of other dynamics, and we'll be talking about those over the next few weeks.
And by the way, some clients don't even want to acknowledge receipt of a resume because they think that implies that some responsibility on their side.
We'll be talking about that more next week. And there's a lot of good people. And again, we talk about that all the time in the Job Sync. We talk about, I know you talk about it in your newsletter. I talk about it all the time. We have 125 episodes of Geeks Geezers and Googlization. I will almost guarantee you that half of them we were in some form or fashion talking about exactly this. How do you improve that? And again, companies are going to be able to, one is improve their employment brand, improve their candidate experience, and learn how to attract and identify top talent. So we're here, but
we need to pivot to our hotel hacks.
Well, it's not much of a pivot. We're here for ahead of the curve. We started this about a month ago, and it's gone over really well. So we talked about the ahead of the curve, normal 2.0. We talked about empathy last week. That's come in multiple times. We talked about leadership prior to that. And last week we bumped it because of Thornton Ellis. So we wanted to continue that conversation. But we were going to talk about hotel hacks, right? And what an important time, because one is that's an industry that's undergoing a tremendous disruption. I won't say evolution yet, but a disruption. Here we are, Thanksgiving weekend. There's still a lot of people traveling.
Just going to say that. Yes.
Much more busier than normal. And but eventually in the spring, summer, fall, things are going to start going, I won't say going back to normal, riding the second wave of normal or the next wave of normal. And we're going to get there, but we will be visiting hotels again. And so you talked about hotel hacks.
Right. I wanted to talk about from a personal point of view. I believe that now, at this very moment in time, and specifically on this day, that travel requires a lot more planning on our part. And the reason is, obviously, we want to stay safe. We want to be COVID free. We don't want to get infected and bring anything home to anybody. We don't want to bring an infection into our loved one's home. So the question is, how do we stay safe while we're in the process? So obviously, we need to make sure we wear masks, and I put on sunglasses, or when it's dark, I'll wear clear glasses, and or I'll wear a face shield. I do expect to be in December getting on an airplane and traveling to Mazatlan, Mexico. And while I'm there, I'll see my sister and maybe do some work with one of the hotels, but we'll see. But the whole idea is I need to stay safe getting myself from here to there. Mm-hmm. And depending on the type of transportation, for instance, if you're in the car, and my husband and I took an adventure and we drove for 6 hours to a place called Quanah, Texas, and we stayed at a Sure Stay hotel, which means that they have higher standards for sanitation and cleanliness than they did before COVID. We wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to get food there, just basic food and water, right? Now, I only drink alkaline water if I can help it, because I think it tastes better. And so we brought large jugs of water, and I used some big, like, ice packs in an ice chest. And I brought some of my soup, which I had frozen, and I brought that because when I looked on Google in the area, the only restaurants that were there were like diners and fast food and fried food, and just not something that I would eat that would keep me healthy. So you need to plan so that you can make sure that there's food there that you want to eat. You also, and this is something I just learned yesterday, and that is that you can ask a hotel to please confirm for you that there has not been anybody else in that particular room in the last 24 hours. Very interesting idea, right?
Yeah. And again, you talk about how things change. 7 months ago, let's say, and when we were all traveling, or maybe 8 months ago it was, we're all traveling. If we went there and they said, "Oh, your room's not ready," it was like, you'd almost want to say, "Okay, if it was," and then as soon as it was, you were in there. So somebody left, housekeeping came in, cleaned it, and it could have been within minutes that somebody else was there. And then you were thrilled to be able to walk into the room. Little things that I don't think most people are thinking about yet.
For sure. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, thinking about hopefully it's clean, but we also know, hotel rooms were notorious. Many of them weren't very clean before, where the sheets changed, and you find things. Was it, how well was it vacuumed? How many times did you get in? And you can tell the bathroom wasn't clean. If you can see the dirt.
If you can see hair in the bathtub, you got to wonder, right?
No, absolutely. So it's going to raise the standards, and ultimately, I think it's going to be so much better, so much safer to travel. And again, there's people that are not going to abide by that, which is the bright side of the pandemic. But we're right now we're in this journey to get there.
Yes, we are. And one of my other favorite hotel hacks from a personal point of view is that I like to have picnics on my bed. So I will dial up a movie on HBO, or even sometimes pay for one, and I'll go pick up food from the restaurant and I'll bring it up to my room. I'll spread a towel out on the bed and I'll have a picnic. Now, what I'm suggesting to hotels, and this is a good way to jump to the hotel part of this, is that they actually buy some large pieces of oilcloth that have fabric on one side and they're waterproof on the other side, that families can spread out on the bed and have these kinds of picnics, and maybe have a cartoon channel for the kids or something like that. I've also suggested to some of the hotels, like some of the mid-priced hotels, that they consider taking their adjacent rooms, all of their adjacent rooms, and turning them into game rooms, so that the kids can have a place where they can play games without disturbing the parents.
Interesting. Again, these are all things, as you're doing this, I was smiling there, and only because my entrepreneur hat went on. First of all, I'm thinking about, there's got to be somebody thinking about a Shark Tank. I can see them pitching this idea of having this picnic. And again, there are already these blankets that have, especially blankets that you can take outside. You put them on grass, the grass gets wet. So There's already that plastic, but now you can decorate them for hotel rooms, or maybe a hotel provides
logo, or the logo of the hotel, right?
Yeah, so and sell those. So even marketing. But so, because I'm sure people eat on the bedspreads and spread food out there, which doesn't do very, one is it's not very safe, it's not very clean, and they're not cleaning those bedspreads between every visit. So this is a way that you can protect that. But again, the entrepreneur hat goes on. But then it also could be a business. Here's a picnic. So somebody can literally, you can call out, they deliver your picnic
in a box,
spread,
right?
With the spread.
Right. Yes.
Or the hotel provides that. So yeah, amazing.
And you get to keep the thing that goes on the bed, so as a gift, and it calls up the memory of it at the time, right?
Yeah,
the other thing that's kind of interesting.
We just have got to wrap it up pretty quick.
I know we're on the end. Is that hotels need to pay more attention to their takeout menus, so that they don't end up so that people don't end up going from the restaurant to their room, and then when they open it up, all the French fries are soggy, for instance. The packaging needs to be perhaps looked at, and the menu needs to be looked at.
Yeah. And it's so simple. I mean, just a really funny thing. We usually we used to go out for breakfast on Sundays. Now we do a brunch. So we'll go out to one of the two diners locally. We'll pick it up, and they would put the toast in the same styrofoam container. And by the time it came back, it was soggy because the steam would come out and it was moist. So we told them, hey, please keep those out and wrap it. And it's like this modern invention. It's like, well, why would you want to do that? We're going to toast it. And I go, because the time we get it home and 10 minutes later, it's a soggy piece of toast. It doesn't taste very good. But little things like that, just little things of what's on the consumer side that would make it better, make you stand out, make you remember it.
Yeah, there's another solution to that too, and then which would be just to have them give you regular untoasted bread, and then you could toast it at home.
Oh, that's exactly what we do. That's what they do now. We told them even one step further, because it was dry and it wasn't moist, but it was cold. So,
okay.
So now we just melt back and put it in there. So again, little ideas. So great, good conversation. I wasn't sure where hotel hacks were going to go. Normal 2.0, but again, everything's evolving, and hopefully we gave people some new ideas and ways to be safe if they are traveling or when they do begin to travel again. Joyce, it's great to have you here.
It's wonderful to be partnering with you. I've seen virtual hugs like this and like this, but I'm inventing a new one for Normal 2.0, and it goes like this, because I feel like we're so isolated that we need all the hugs we can get, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays. Please be safe. If you're traveling, extra precautions. If you're home, It's going to be different. Do your Zoom, stay with your loved ones and those who you care. And again, even Dr. Fauci says next year we're going to be celebrating at Thanksgiving. A lot of people are. So hopefully we will. We really appreciate everybody being part of Geeks Geezers and Googlization and Googlization Nation. You can join Googlization Nation, get updates about this and other events by going to googlizationnation.com. Very, very easy. If you want to share this, you missed it, it'll be on YouTube and Facebook because this is live. And then it will be on your favorite podcast. We're on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, SoundCloud, you name it. We're there. iHeart.
And be sure to tune in next week when we'll be playing together once more.
No, absolutely. Stay safe, everyone. Take care. Thanks for watching.
Bye.